Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Nintendo dropping an amazing strategy RPG on the Switch 2 and Xbox holding back a secret game for its upcoming showcase. It's going to be a good one because we have Rachel Kaser on the show. Rachel, how are you doing?
Happy New Year, Jeff. I'm so happy to see you again. And for the record, everyone, the only reason I'm here is Fire Emblem.
That's right. Well, you messaged me last night. I think we probably talked about it last time you were on the show, and then it's like, yeah.
And then I messaged you at like 10 o'clock last night when I saw the news, and it was literally just a string of emojis.
Yes, exactly. Like just exclamation points mostly. I'm excited too. I've started Path of Radiance a couple times, really enjoyed it, and then of course it was like, oh, I got distracted by some new game I got to play for work. I might use this as the excuse to fully go back to it. I'm assuming you've played through Path of Radiance before, or not?
I actually have not. It's a Fire Emblem game I've never played. It's one of the few Fire Emblem games I've never played because I didn't own a GameCube.
Right.
But I owned a Wii U, so I played Radiant Dawn, which is the sequel.
Right. Very similar. Yes. So follow up.
Yeah, but I've never actually played Path of Radiance itself, so I'm excited. It's not the remake I was hoping for, but I'm hoping all of this interest in Fire Emblem will mean that the next Fire Emblem game we get after Fortune's Weave might be a Genealogy of the Holy War remake.
Yeah, it feels like that's still happening at some point, but yeah, there's a lot of Fire Emblem happening these days. That's exciting. We will talk about all the details there here in a second. Other than that, how was your New Year? How were your holidays? How's things down in Texas?
It's very warm, even by Texas standards for winter. Like, I think the cold snap is finally coming next week, but it was like 70 degrees on Christmas.
Okay.
So yeah, we had
a lot of snow up until Christmas, and then as Christmas got here, it's like, okay, we're gonna go melt all the snow, and then it came back, and now we're back to everything's melted, which has kind of been the standard for the last little bit. But boy, I liked having the snow. You do anything fun for New Year's or anything?
Not really. We were just kind of staying home eating Chinese food.
Hell yeah.
Because the Chinese food places are always open. No, they have never let me down. But yeah, we were just kind of hanging out and working on our New Year's resolutions. I want to read more books. My first book is what is it? The Red House Mystery, which is Did you know that the author of Winnie the Pooh wrote a mystery novel?
No, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a I haven't finished it, so no one in the chat spoil it for me. But yeah, I'm reading A.A. Milne's only mystery novel.
Okay, well that sounds like a good time. I also am trying to read more and just exercise more regularly. I get it. Most people fall off their New Year's resolutions. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try. I like to try, and then we'll see what sticks.
It's a clean slate. It's nice to start again, even if it doesn't necessarily, even if not everything sticks. It's still nice to kind of like check in with yourself and, say like, what do I actually want to accomplish in the next few months?
Yeah, give yourself the opportunity to succeed and all that. All right, you know what? It's Friday. Let's get on with the show. Before we do that, we should explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb, video game internet doofuses, independent games media, out here on our own, except we have you in our corner, at our backs. You went to giantbomb.com/join, became a premium member. Thank you to everybody who's done so. It is enabling us to do what we do here. We really deeply appreciate it. If you want to join those ranks, if you want to ensure that independent games media can thrive in this environment where corporations have said, no, we don't want this anymore. Well, we don't want them anymore. We have you. We'd much rather have you. So go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member, get some bonus goodies. There will be a new Grubb Snacks next week just for premium subscribers. Looking forward to doing that. Right now, there is a forum thread for premium users only where you could submit questions. I'll take a look at those. Let's do some fun stuff in 2026. As far as this show goes,
I'm a premium member. Does that bring anyone? And obviously, you should follow my lead because I am the beacon by which all smart decisions are made.
That's right. Stand shoulder to shoulder with Rachel Kaser. That's never going to fail you. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Fire Emblem Path of Radiance joins Switch Online's GameCube Classics library. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Ahead of the release of Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave later this year, the new Fire Emblem game for Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has added Fire Emblem Path of Radiance to the Switch 2's library of GameCube classics. Regarded as one of the best entries in the entire franchise, Path of Radiance will be available for all Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack subscribers. First released in 2005, so 21 years ago, oh my god, Path of Radiance earned critical acclaim for its dark storyline, mature themes, and for being the first 3D Fire Emblem game set on the fictional continent of Tellius. The game follows the mercenary Ike and his companions as they set out to rescue a princess and save the kingdom of Crimea from the invading nation of DN. God, I remember when this happened originally, Rachel, where it was like, oh, the game with the guys from Smash Brothers. Hey, yeah, Ike, yeah, I know Ike, this.
We know Ike.
Right.
We know Ike, sort of.
I've always wanted to play these games, and then, I didn't at the time. But it was like an exciting moment. It's like, oh, we're finally getting that Fire Emblem series. I eventually would fall in love with the series after Awakening happened on the 3DS. I think that was a lot of people in the West's introduction to the series, the real introduction. But I always was just like, oh yeah, this game looked cool. It felt very different than a lot of other stuff that was happening on the GameCube, especially from Nintendo. And yes, beloved. It is a game that people really liked right away. I'm excited about this. This is the 8th game added to the GameCube library on the Nintendo Switch 2. That's growing a little bit faster than I even thought that would. And this is an excellent entry at this point. It's like, oh man, that's now a really well-rounded lineup of games that people can get if they become an expansion pack subscriber. So the plan is to play it on the Switch too?
Oh yeah, I'm already downloading it on the Switch 2. I mean, I don't.
Hell yeah.
My Switch 2's at in my other room, so I can't physically show you. But yeah, it's at a secret location where the game is currently being downloaded, where I'm getting it directly from Nintendo. But yes, so it's downloaded. That's probably going to be my whole weekend is playing Path of Radiance on my Switch 2.
I think what we should do now is get you back on here in the next 2 weeks from now after you've played some more of it and kind of get your thoughts. So I'd love to have get an update. Yes, get the Kaser review of Path of Radiance. I would love to have that. You said you did play. What was the name of the Wii follow-up? I can't remember.
Radiant Dawn. Which I did like, but yes. That's always been like a big empty spot on my shelf, as it were, my Fire Emblem shelves. I've never played Path of Radiance, and which is weird because now that I think about it, I've played so many other Fire Emblem games that aren't necessarily ported properly, but I found other ways of
interesting. Of course.
Of playing them, totally legal and above board.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I never got around to playing Path of Radiance. So part of me was kind of hoping that I would eventually be able to play it on the Switch. Or I think I actually thought I could play it on my Wii U at one point after I got my Wii U. Yes, I do own a Wii U.
Yeah. The Wii U had Wii backward compatibility, so you probably played it on there. Yeah.
That's why I played Radiant Dawn, but Path of Radiance came out on the GameCube.
Oh, you're saying Path of Radiance still? Okay, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. But either way, my question for Radiant Dawn, if you can remember when you did play it, the quality of life features of Fire Emblem got added over time because if you go back to the Super Famicom versions, it doesn't have that thing where it's like if I hit a button, it's going to show me every possible space where the enemy could attack me. And as someone who's look, I've learned the rules of chess. I've played chess. I'm decent at it, for someone that is completely an amateur. But I always struggle with seeing the whole board and seeing every possible threat position. I suppose that's a problem most people have. That's the whole thing that makes chess difficult. But I do struggle with that, and that was always great in Fire Emblem. Just at least with starting with Awakening, I think you would hit one of the shoulder buttons, and it would just be here's a big red blob of the danger area. Do you remember if if Radiant Dawn, if that had that, and by extension maybe Path of Radiance has that?
I think it has it. I could be wrong because I have a memory of a map in Radiant Dawn with like the red, like
Yeah.
red squares on the map. So I have a memory of that, but I could be. It could be just that it's only if you like highlight one enemy, like you go to their tile on the map and it'll show you all the places they can move to.
Yeah.
So, maybe not the entire enemy danger zone, but maybe just like for you have to like pick out each individual enemy and be like, okay, they can go here, they can go here. So I better avoid this,
Yeah,
this, and
it's
this.
yeah, probably individual, at least done on an individual enemy level is what
Yeah,
the chat is saying. That sounds right. I think when I do remember when I did spend several hours playing Path of Radiance, again, never beat it, but I remember being like, oh no, I can work with this, and it still feels relatively modern, even if it doesn't have every single quality of life feature that the series would add over time. My understanding overall is this is a relatively friendly game to go back to. It's a like people do. Someone else in chat a little bit ago was calling it out as a great first Fire Emblem game. So yeah, I bet it's going to hold up just fine. Looking forward to spending some more time with it.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to. I will play as much of it as I can in the next 2 weeks, just so that I can report back to you about like, yep, turns out Path of Radiance it still holds up. It's still fun to play.
Yep, as someone who was like originally fell in love with intelligent systems strategy games with Advance Wars, I've come to accept and be sort of like not just accept, but like, no, this is great that Fire Emblem became like the standout one. They had their waifus and Awakening, of course, that put it over the top. But there is
Yeah,
it's a great series. There's a lot to love there, and it has a
yeah.
lot of the same qualities as an Advance War, but with
And
like
and I don't
characters you can get relate
judge
to.
And I don't judge the waifus because, like, to me,
No,
that is what saves the Fire Emblem series.
yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
remember if Awakening had not done well sales wise, like they would have just packed the whole franchise in and just
I
put it
agree.
on the shelf forever. So, I mean, if that's what saved Fire Emblem, then please more waifus. I need more waifus.
Waifus are the key to success in this business, it turns out. All right, let's keep going here. The Xbox Developer Direct will feature a secret fourth game. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. The upcoming Xbox Developer Direct will feature a currently unannounced fourth game. The digital event will stream on Thursday, January 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, and include new looks at Forza Horizon 6, Fable, and the new game from Pokemon developers Game Freak, Beasts of Reincarnation. Now, we talked about all of those yesterday on the show. Excited to see more from all three of them. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
think that Game Freak one especially is very interesting. I'm kind of interested to see it from the side of, oh, let's see what the studio can do when they maybe have a real budget, but also it just looks like a good game. So I want to see that. And then, of course, Forza Horizon 6 taking place in Japan, and that Fable game being sort of almost a mythological beast at this point where it's been around or been announced for so long. It's like, is this thing actually going to be real? Well, in that blog post yesterday, they're like, yeah, we're showing off new gameplay. Okay, let's see it. Let's see what you actually have over there, Playground Games. But since then, Shinobi, who is like kind of a industry guy, industry insider to some extent, posted on one of the forums that a secret fourth game will be part of this thing, which is not surprising. Something that Microsoft has done with their developer directs before in the past, where
yeah.
it's like, oh, we're going to talk about in depth with some of these games, and it's 4 games, and then there's a secret fifth game that they don't say they're going to do, and then it pops off, and sometimes it's like a shadow drop or something like that. Now, VGC says they can corroborate this and understands that the fourth game is a smaller scale original game from one of the Xbox Game Studios first party developers. I'll
Hmm.
say that, like, when I just did a cursory ask about this without getting any definitive answer, but people are like, oh, to me, it sounds like that's probably going to be Gears of War E-Day. Now, clearly, that's not a smaller game
I was
from
about to say, yeah.
very, very different. So we'll see. I think I trust VGC here on this, and it also sounds like the kind of thing that, yeah, that fits with what Microsoft has done before. But also, it's like, didn't they do that with? Isn't that exactly what happened with what was the rhythm action adventure
Hi-Fi
game,
Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush? Isn't that exactly what happened there? And they sort of they shadow dropped it, and it
It
it kind
did.
of it kind of seemed like it popped off, but eventually they got rid of the studio or whatever. So are they going to repeat history with that, or what should we
God,
be
I hope
expecting
not.
here? Right? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of who will like a smaller scale title. I mean, I haven't heard anything that sounds like it fits that description. So I'm
Right.
puzzling. Because I also I did look into it, and I do remember um seeing that it might be like indie scale.
Yeah,
And
like the original game, small scale. Those are the big descriptors here. So it's not
does original game imply it's not part of an existing series, or
right. Is that what we should take? I think so, Rachel.
okay?
But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that's what it means, because it could be an original sequel, right? But probably not. They would say that. I think they would say
Yeah.
that if that's what was happening here.
Yeah, I think they'd say like, it's a sequel to, popular indie game from early 2000s, something like that.
Right. Yes. Or like a Pentiment follow up, which I doubt this is. Um,
I would love a Pentiment follow-up.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
I didn't have that in my head until you said it, but now I want a Pentiment follow-up.
Listen. I love Pentiment. I'm never gonna believe we're gonna get another one of those. It's this perfect little thing, and I'll be fine with that. Yeah. Double
Sequel,
Fine.
they'll Xboxify it.
Yes. Double Fine just released a game. So it's probably not. It does sound like Obsidian could have something, but they're very busy all the time with like 5 different projects, and
Yeah.
they released 3 games last year: Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, and Grounded 2. So it's like, God, are they really going to have yet another game even ready to talk about at this point? That seems unlikely. But they have a ton of studios that I'm sure we're forgetting about that could
Yeah, well, I mean,
it could be doing the Obsidian thing of like, hey, we had a small team make something and we're going to finally put that out.
yeah, I mean, I think hoping that something is going to shadow drop like it did with Hi-Fi Rush, I think that might be hoping for a little too much, because I don't think they're going to be able to do what they did with Hi-Fi Rush. I don't think that. I mean, same with Pentiment. I don't think that lightning is going to strike twice, and I don't think Xbox is going to try to force something out just to try to replicate that success. I think what they're going to do is probably um, release a trailer for something, and then something that has at least a familiar element. I'm guessing, like maybe we'll recognize the studio and say like, "Oh, we love their work. Can't wait to see what they do with this." But I don't think it's going to be a full game. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm happy to eat my words if it turns out that we do get a game.
Yep. I be curious to see it. I think the thing sticking out to me, it's like, one of the first party developers. We have seen Xbox do something along these lines before, and kind of let these studios try to make a smaller thing alongside the big stuff that they make. Obsidian has been the best at that, or like maybe the poster child for that. And then I was also like getting the sense it's like, is that the strategy also going forward? Because I remember Matt Booty in the last couple of years, especially as they are having this shift from we're focused on selling Xboxes to we're focused on selling our games everywhere. One of the things I remember Matt Booty saying, who is one of the people in charge of Xbox, and I don't think he's necessarily in charge of Xbox Game Studios anymore. I think that's Sarah Bond now, but he's up there in the executive leadership team. He was saying that they want to focus more on the big home run hits, the bigger games and fewer games, and having putting all their eggs into some of these some of these bigger baskets that have the biggest return. So it's like, okay, I want to see what this is, mostly to get a sense of, okay, are things like this still possible at Xbox, where it's like they can have these smaller things, or is this a remnant from the previous sort of strategy, and this is the last one out the door before they close the door on that? I'm curious to see it from that angle.
Yeah, it depends on when they're going to release it. If it's something that's going to release this year, then yeah, I think it would definitely be probably it predates. It was grandfathered in. Then it could be a small indie game that was grandfathered in on the original strategy that they want to put out because they've invested a lot of time and money in it already.
Yep, and Matt Booty is in charge of everything studio. So Xbox, Activision, Bethesda. Okay, makes sense. All right, we'll see. That's again, that's happening January 22nd. So we're talking 2 weeks from now. Yeah, we'll watch it here. See what they have. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to see what those other games are, or what they have in store for us as well.
I should watch it with the rest of you. I can yell at Mike a little bit.
There you go. That would be perfect.
I haven't done that in months. I'm
know you got
withdrawals.
It's important to get that in regularly. I know I need it as well. He missed Decides last night because he was at Games Done Quick, And it's like he was kind of in the background of one of the shots, and then when the Super Metroid run happened, he was like right there. Basically, he wasn't on like the couch, but he might as well have been because he was just
yeah,
like
that sounds
hooting and
about right.
hollering. That sounds about right. Yeah, I was very excited. Okay, that was not me. I did not do that.
It wasn't me.
Xbox exclusive RPG Avowed is coming to PS5 with new features. This is from James O'Connor at GameSpot. Avowed, Obsidian's 2025 RPG, originally released on Xbox Series X and S and PC, is coming to PlayStation 5. The new version of Avowed, announced during the New Game Plus showcase, which happened yesterday, will be available on Sony's system on February 17th, 2026, just a day short of the one-year anniversary of the game's original release. Microsoft remains the game's publisher, having purchased Obsidian in 2018. The game is first-person action RPG set in the world of Pillars of Eternity, some other Obsidian games. It tasks players with investigating a mysterious plague, fighting their way through a sprawling world with a mix of weapons and magic. Alongside the PS5 version, Obsidian will also release an anniversary update for the game for all systems. This update will add a new Game Plus mode, which lets you carry over all your equipable gear to a new character, reset to level 1, and fight modified enemies. It also adds a photo mode, 3 new playable races, the ability to change your appearance from the overworld, and a new weapon type. The PS5 version will also contain all the post-release content and updates that the game has received thus far. I think the developers were discussing the update and saying it's like it's a more well-rounded game now, is how they're positioning it. It's like, oh yeah, that's a game that was already really solid, and of course, this is one of the benefits.
Yeah,
I did too. This is one of the benefits of like this strategy for a company like Microsoft, where it's like release it on Xbox first, focus on that launch, and then sometime between 3 months to a year later, get it ready for PlayStation 5, where it will have a bigger audience and will be, kind of necessarily the best version of the game possible with all these updates, all these improvements. And you could specifically build a new update to make the game feel special to people who are still playing it on other consoles, while making it like, oh, here's why it's worth getting into it now on your PlayStation 5. I think this is going to do really well, because another thing that's happening with Obsidian games, Rachel, is it seems like these games are coming out. They do feel like they get lost in the mix a little bit, and then a few months later, everyone kind of goes like, that game ruled. I think that's going to happen with Outer Worlds 2, like big time. Like people are going to come around to Outer Worlds 2 in the next like 6 months or so and be like, oh, this game is awesome. I don't know why more people weren't talking about it. It's sort of already happening with Avowed. And now this will give them an opportunity to sort of capitalize on that, right?
Yeah, I think when I remember thinking, especially when you pointed out that Obsidian released 3 games last year, I remember thinking, did we really just did Obsidian force all of their projects out the door once? I hate to keep bringing this up, but did they force it all out because GTA 6 is about to happen?
It doesn't seem like that's not a factor. Yeah, it definitely seems like it's part of it. Yes.
But yeah, and so this seems like, it's a good way for the game to get a little bit more. I think it definitely deserved more attention than it got, and I think everyone was still kind of holding. It came out at a time when everyone was kind of holding their breath for Monster Hunter Wilds, or was playing Monster Hunter Wilds. I forget.
Yeah, they were just starting to play. Yes, it was around the same time.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I remember that. But then Monster Hunter Wilds kind of dropped off. I mean, not that it wasn't a decent game, but it feels like it doesn't have the staying power of previous Monster Hunter games. So I'm kind of thinking it would be great for Avowed to get a little bit more attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's coming.
So.
I think the PS5 release is coming out at a time when it doesn't have a lot of overlap with other major releases. The only one I can think of that's coming out during that time is Resident Evil Requiem, and that's not really a crossover with a fantasy RPG.
Right. Yeah. There's space for both of those. Absolutely. It's Resident Evil is going to be massive. Like there's the kind of the most hype for this series since Resident Evil 4 remake, which I guess was very recent, a couple of years ago. But no, that's still saying something. Regardless, though, you're right. I think that there's going to be space for this game as well. It can do very well on PlayStation, and yeah, someone in the chat was saying time to stop buying games at launch, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I definitely am okay waiting on a lot of games, right? Like Death Stranding 2 is one that's like I missed the boat on, and now it's like he's probably gonna do that director's cut thing again. Whoa, what if I just waited for that version? And
True.
it's like, there's a ton of benefits to doing that. You get the best version of the game up to that point, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I
how
don't
are
think
you
it
feeling
was.
about that these days?
I mean, I thought that was kind of a given that everyone had kind of taken away that lesson is that unless
Yeah,
something
I hope
about the
so.
game really sells itself to you, you don't have to buy it at launch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone, maybe I just was brought up in the days of the Steam sale that there was
Yeah.
so many games, especially we just had our end of year sale. That's where I bought the Berlin apartment, which I think I talked about last
Yeah,
time
I
we
think so.
talked.
Yep.
Yeah, and there was another game that I bought, Seance of Blake Manor.
Yep.
So I was basically buying all the indie games that I hadn't had a chance to play during the year, and it was like, I'm just gonna snatch these up while these are 25% off. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
like the waiting for the sale thing, that has definitely been something that like is smart money and people should be doing that. Of course, it's like it's like, but if you wait for the sale, you are also getting this much better game at this point. And it's like, I guess that also has been something that's pretty common now for years, but just
and like you
feels
said, that's when
more
all the
egregious than ever.
patches. That's when
Yeah,
all the patches and expansions come out. So yeah, you're getting, like you said, you're getting the complete version of the game. I am curious to know what the new playable races are going to be in Avowed, though, because
yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it's been so long since I played Avowed. I don't remember what the playable races were, and what more they could have.
Yeah, right. It's like I bet if I were to go back and look, I bet there's multiple races in the game that you interact with, but you can't play as, and then they'll just kind
Yeah,
of
I don't think they're going to go
add
for
those.
somebody that's. Do you remember Yatsley? I don't
Remember
think they're
what
going
now?
to. One of the companions, Yatsley.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're going to go for someone her size.
No, probably not. No, they'll probably do something a little bit more standard, but that would be fun if they did. That'd be
It would
cool.
be hilarious.
All right, let's see here. Let's take a break. We're gonna take a break. There's plenty more to talk about, including the latest on Larian and generative AI. We'll talk about that after this break. If you want to skip out on these, go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. We have premium versions without ads of the video show and the audio show. Go grab those. In the meantime, though, we will be right back.
All right, dog, it's time to start the show. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, dude, I'm ready.
No, Grubb. You look like you are in a den of inequity right now.
I don't know what that means, and I don't know what you want. It's not like I have a home studio, Jan.
Yes, you do. The computers that Main Gear built for us have NVIDIA GeForce RTX GPUs in them, and with the NVIDIA Studio drivers and NVIDIA Broadcast, you can turn even your man cave into a professional studio. Using Broadcast, you can upgrade your webcams, microphones, and speakers using the power of machine learning to take our shows, voice chats, and video conferences to the next level. You can use audio effects like noise removal.
Oh, yeah, I guess I have the fan on. Well, it's hot. I'm not going to turn that off. Let me just hit this right here. Is that any better, Jan?
Much better. We can clean up your shot with auto frame and video noise removal. And Grubb, you can even make it look like you are paying attention using the eye contact tool.
So I could still watch my stories?
Yes, you can. NVIDIA Broadcast is a universal plugin that works with most live streaming, voice chat, and video conferencing apps. It's supported on any NVIDIA GeForce RTX GPU. And since I'm using the NVIDIA Studio drivers, I'll get stable optimized performance in Adobe Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve, and all the other apps that I need to use to fix our mistakes in post.
You know what? Thank you to Main Gear and NVIDIA for supplying our NVIDIA Studio PCs. NVIDIA Broadcast, your AI-powered home studio, and NVIDIA Studio, the software advantage for all creators. Jan, I'm not even looking at the camera at all right now.
Grubb, stop looking at me.
I haven't looked at you forever.
All right, it's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Rachel Kaser. I'm able to get this thing open now. It's from a gotcha machine. Again, shouts out to ABC for dropping this off the mic and getting it to me. It's the N64 controller button thing, a little keychain. I have the analog sticks. So now I have this, yeah, and I can press all the buttons. It's a little fidget, yeah. Ooh, that feels good. I love the C buttons. They're weird and kind of off-putting, and I like it. All right, let's see here. Thanks again, ABC. I have a cold. I was trying to pretend I didn't when we started the show, Rachel, but
no, it's okay.
It's catching up to me, and I was like, I just got over. Like I had maybe not the flu, like the capital F flu over the holidays, but I had something similar. And now it's like, oh, cool. Just a nice little cold to cap things off on the other side of that. It's not terrible. I took some Sudafed, which is probably why I'm talking even faster than normal this morning. But yeah, it's let's get through this and see how we can do this this day. All right.
Okay. I feel so. When you said before the call started, before the show started, you said you were going to go get some tissues. I was like, well, damn, I didn't think I was going to make you cry today, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, you were right. That was fine. That has nothing to do with the cold. That was just because I knew you were going to make me weepy. So yeah, absolutely. All right. Larian will not use generative AI for Divinity concept art specifically. This is from Alex Forbes Calvin. I didn't write it down. I think gamesindustry.biz, probably not. Belgian game developer Larian Studios has confirmed that there will be no generative AI used for concept art during the creation of the upcoming RPG Divinity. In a Reddit Ask Me Anything, CEO and co-founder Sven Vink said that the company would not use Gen AI as part of the concept art process. The studio lead added that no concept art had been created using generative AI, but said that he could see how people were confused by his previous remarks. Vink previously told Bloomberg that it had tried to incorporate AI into the creation of Divinity, which it resulted in a backlash, particularly due to the developer seemingly using it in the creation of concept art, or like the early stages of concept art at the very least. The studio CEO later clarified that it was not replacing concept artists with AI, adding that the company had used the technology to, quote, explore things. In the Reddit AMA, Vink said that it was removing Gen AI from the entire concept art process to ensure that players knew all art is original. There is not going to be any generative AI in Divinity, he wrote. I know there has been a lot of discussion about using AI tools as part of the concept art exploration. We already said that this doesn't mean the actual concept art is generated by AI, but we understand it created confusion. So to ensure there is no room for doubt, we've decided to refrain from using Gen AI tools during concept art development. That way, there can be no discussion about the origin of the art. Great, a win. Like, I think this is a win that people need to take. This is one of the things people wanted is you said you were going to do this thing. We don't like it. We're going to yell at you about it. And they have changed their feelings about this. They have changed their process. And I think when we were talking about this before, Rachel, on one of the episodes, I was saying like iterativism is like a thing that I know people hate, where it's like, take the small wins and try to change things slowly, but I don't know what other options we really have. So when you do want a company to stop doing something and they stop doing that thing, celebrate that as a win.
Yeah.
But there is a however here.
There's an asterisk on it.
Yes, there is a literally, having said that, which is the quote that he continues here, we continuously try to improve the speed with which we can try things out. The more iterations we can do, the better in general the gameplay is. We think generative AI can help with this, so we're trying things out across departments. Our hope is that it can aid us to refine ideas faster, leading to a more focused development cycle, less waste, and ultimately a higher quality game. So it's like, of course, he's still leaving the door open, so people will still be mad. And it's like, while celebrating a small win, that doesn't mean you have to shut up now. You can keep being loud about this, but I will say being loud about this is what got any sort of like backtracking from Sven here. So well done to everybody who's like standing up and shouting about what they care about.
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of gamers sort of like maybe taking their anger out where it's not necessarily warranted.
Right. It's always like often like misguided, misdirected, right? So frequently it is. Yes.
Yeah, but this I think was a perfectly acceptable use of gamer outrage, if you will.
Yep.
So because I mean, it's not as if we found out later, like with Claire Obscure, which had its Indie Game of the Year award taken away because it used generative AI in the art process. Am I Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't remember the exact details. Yeah, I knew that was mostly happening over the holidays, and I was kind of paying attention. I think it was during the art process, but I can't remember the exact details.
Yeah, but and everything, and we found out after the fact that had happened, and it was like, hey, why would you use something that is inherently not a creative tool for a creative medium? I think that's one of the things everyone was upset about, and I feel I don't necessarily blame Sven either, because it feels like I understand why this seems like a really fun and shiny new tool, and I understand that nobody wants crunch either. Nobody really wants to crunch their employees when there's possibly other solutions, but I really wish he hadn't used I appreciate the transparency, but I really wish he hadn't put in that having said that. So yes, if anybody hears him say that and says, "You know what, Sven, I'm not satisfied. I really wish you wouldn't use this." Keep telling him that. Keep telling him that. It's important that he hear that, I think.
Yeah, it's it is a thing where it's like the explanation from people who are concept artists around the time that this was all going down of why they don't like this really was very compelling to me and really kind of made it very clear. And they were all like, it's the idea of someone on the team has an idea and they go to AI and say, here's my idea for something. Can you sort of make a very early composite image for me that I can hand off to the concept artist and say, hey, go explore this idea. And the concept artists were all like, that cuts out a lot of what makes this job produce good work. And that process it would be cut out is explain your idea to me and then let me go do all of the exploration and the research, because the research is where I learn so much about why these things are the way they are, why this certain architecture was used, the thinking behind it, and all of that learning process gets incorporated into us building something and creates a foundation of quality and a foundation of a world that feels lived in and real. And it's like, oh yeah, when I start thinking about some of the best things I've ever experienced, you can just sense that there was people on that team who just spent half of their development time researching and learning and understanding and building a foundation that I think is invaluable to making quality products. And so it's like, okay, you want to now, what it sounds like, continue using Gen AI to iterate on your original ideas. That still sounds like it's going to cut out that magical process of people who are good at their jobs and love doing their jobs and love doing every aspect of it, that has that serendipitous effect of them stumbling across something that they wouldn't have otherwise, because they're the ones actually going to these books, actually going into these research facilities and doing the work. And it's like, oh, I don't want to lose any of that, not 1 ounce of it. So
No.
people
Yeah,
should
and
kind
I
of
feel like
continue to be loud. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a larger discussion probably than just Game S mornings, but I feel like Gen AI, I don't think it's going to necessarily produce the cost cutting that that the tops heads of the studios are perhaps hoping for. I think it's
Mhm.
only going to end up generating more work for the people lower down on the ladder who are going to have to clean up the inevitable, like, AI nonsense that is generated from all of this.
And
Try
it's
not
like,
to use the word slop, but
yeah, but that's fine. You can use slop as much as you want on this show. Yeah, and the thing is, it's like there are plenty of algorithmic machine learning tools that we've been using to create games for a very long time now, and it's like, yeah, that stuff is saving time. You know, there was the a couple years ago Unreal Engine. Here, press a button and we'll build a city for you, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that should save people a lot of time. Now, what happens next was always like, and because everyone has that as sort of table stakes, you're going to have to do even more work on all these other aspects of your world to make your game stand apart and stand out. And it's like, yeah, okay. I think that's a great thing. We have to keep hiring a ton of people to make these games, because now, sure, you can press a button to build a city, but I want to see you now take the work of all these people and go build these interiors and now focus on this other side of the world that we haven't been able to see before, because they had to spend so many years just building the external city that we were in before. It's like, I still want all of that fun, magical stuff that happens because someone understands how to build these algorithms. But that algorithm building was an art in itself. And handing that over to a black box to me is something that I don't want to see game developers do that in general. And
Yeah, and
I'm proud of gamers standing up and shouting, even if we don't fully understand like how it's being used all the time. It's like, we could tell this is not going to end up with games that we really are going to be into.
Yeah, I know we have a bunch of other stories to talk about before the end of the show, so I don't want to monopolize this talking just about Gen AI.
Yep.
But I will say, we had a discussion about this at Games Meet Next when we were at our conference in San Francisco, and I got to pull out an Isaac Asimov reference, which I'm not going to do the whole thing for you, but it basically amounts to computers only seem to work perfectly in conjunction with other computers. The minute you introduce humans into it, you're also going to have to introduce humans to to help out the computers.
Mhm.
The minute they have to interact with humans, you're going to have to bring in other humans to teach them how to interact with humans.
Yep.
So I think I think that's what's going to end up happening if developers end up becoming over reliant on AI tools, is that somebody is going to have to come in and clean up the work that AI has done, and eventually we're going to see I think eventually we're going to see developers realize, why did I use AI in the first place? I could have just hired the person that I brought in to fix the AI in the first place.
Yep. Speaking of AI, one of the games that has been in the target for using AI voice acting, Arc Raiders, they're having other problems. And the dev promises new anti-cheating measures are coming soon. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. The extraction shooter Arc Raiders has proven to be one of the top hits of last year, which has in turn attracted some unscrupulous players who aren't above cheating to win. After the rule-abiding Arc Raiders players became vocal about their displeasure, Embark Studios has announced that new anti-cheat measures are on the way to the game. We've seen the discussion around the topic of cheaters and Arc Raiders, reads the message shared on Arc Raiders Discord server via PC Gamer. Please know that we are taking this issue very seriously and are listening to and acting on your feedback. Over the next few weeks, we are implementing significant changes to our rule sets and deploying new detection mechanisms to identify and remove cheaters. It's the story as old as multiplayer gaming, right? At least as old as the last 20 years. Every popular online multiplayer shooter, specifically, but I bet every kind of game. If it gets to a certain level of popularity, it gets to a certain level of just unplayableness because of cheaters. And Arc Raiders is the latest game in the reticles of those cheaters. And it's a different kind of game. Doesn't have that history of being like a sequel to a million games before it, where it's like we could just roll over all of the anti-cheat stuff we've done before and built on top of that. They're kind of starting from scratch here a little bit. Obviously, they do have anti-cheats in there, but people are able to get around it. If I encounter a cheater in a game like this, I often be like, I'm often like, okay, I'm just going to put this down for a while. Call me up when you fix this. So it is a problem they do have to solve, right? Because this is a game that has to keep chugging along and continuing to keep people happy and satisfied. And cheating is a great way to spoil that, right?
Yeah, I would hope. I mean, Arc Raiders is built up some pretty solid momentum. I would hate to see that ruined because people can't stand losing.
Yeah. Yep. It kind
Or
of just
because they have built their careers on being good at a game or something. Not naming names here, but I think you and I both know what that means.
Uh-huh. It's that's a lot of content creators, they can sort of wag the dog here a little bit, where it's like if they are complaining to their thousands of viewers about cheaters, that will cause that sort of hey, let's go annoy this developer about it. It's like, why are you ruining your game by not dealing with these cheaters? And it becomes the thing that the fire they most have to put out. So we'll see how they're able to respond to this. In the meantime, they are promising some improvements, but we've also heard that story a million times before.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can come up. The problem is cheaters are, there's no one size fits all solution for any multiplayer game. So I'm hoping they can find something that works specifically for Arc Raiders.
Yep, absolutely. Massive Entertainment describes the Division 3 as a monster. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Julian Garrity, I believe is his name. Julian Garrity, who is in charge of Star Wars Outlaws, has gone back to. He's also in charge of Division 1. He's going back to the Division for 3. He also says that he wants this game to have as big of an impact as the Division 1. There's a big update coming to the Division 2, which is going to have like new features and stuff like that. But the Division 3 is happening, and they're promising it to be this massive new thing. The Division games are ones that like fall off my radar, and then occasionally I will hear people being like, "Yeah, that's still like my game." Can the Division 3 sort of get back up into that stratosphere of like, oh, this is this is like an Arc Raiders in terms of its level of success? What do you think?
That's what they're going to go for. I can tell you that much. They're going to go for that, or
Yeah.
more so than I would have said a Helldivers 2 before, but I think Arc Raiders would probably be the sort of formula that they're trying to emulate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's also going to I think they're going to make a big push to get the name out there again, because I think it's been a while since anybody's really talked about the Division as a franchise. Tom Clancy, yes, but not the Division.
Yeah, I think people generally do seem very happy with the Division 2, but it's like those are the people playing that game still. It's like, can it win over a larger audience and make that entire audience happy? I think so. I mean, part of this series does feel like it's the one relatively newer one. I think it's about to be 10 years old. I think it turns 10 years old this year, or maybe it did last year. But still, it's like this feels one of the newer Ubisoft ones that really found its footing. And then they got distracted, like a lot of publishers did in the last few years, of like, hey, why instead of spending all this money to build up our own IP, let's just go buy an IP or rent an IP and make something that way. And they did Avatar, and they did this team specifically did Star Wars Outlaws. And then obviously the pendulum swung back from that again, right? Like it doesn't seem like a publisher like Ubisoft is going to be spending a lot of money to get a Disney IP anytime soon again. And instead they're like, let's build up our own IP. So they're kind of back on that track, and that has led them back to the Division. We'll see how it goes. I always thought the idea of like getting into the Division would be fun. I always would just play through a little bit of the campaign and then put it down. Who knows?
Yeah, same.
Maybe the Division 3 wins me over.
I mean, I think I think if they do a little bit more promotion of what the world is meant to be, because I remember trying to remember what it was, but I played the Division 2 for a while. I remember really liking it, and then I remember not playing it for a really long time, and then I remember thinking, why didn't I play the Division 2 anymore? So I think it's that sort of like, it just doesn't they need something that sticks to the mind somewhat about the Division. They need a hook that'll bring people in.
And I think the people are going to be wondering what's going on with Ubisoft's online multiplayer games following this, as people in chat are pointing out. Like, there's still that ongoing problem of Rainbow Six Siege being deeply broken in terms of being hacked and just completely cracked open. Like, I think just a couple of days ago, a bunch of people are finding their accounts hacked for 67 days because the hackers are just memeing. They're like, 6-7. You're being banned for 6-7.
Oh God!
Right, and it's okay. And I don't know if Ubisoft sort of gotten their or has been able to put out that fire successfully even yet. So I think there'll be some questions about their ability to protect their games going forward. Although after this, I'm sure they'll take that even more seriously. All right, last couple of stories here. Towerborne will be launching in full in February. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Developer Stoic has revealed that it's finally time for the RPG brawler Towerborne to exit early access and launch in full. The game, which started its life cycle as an early access game on PC before coming to Xbox in April 2025 as part of the Xbox Game Preview project, will soon be transforming into its 1.0 state and getting a multi-platform debut as well. As confirmed in an Xbox Wire post, Towerborne will be launching in full on February 26th. On PC, Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and Game Pass Premium and Ultimate. When this launch does happen, the project will also receive a big update that will deliver a reimagined launch experience. They're also, I believe, going to charge for this game because it was free up until this point, or free to play. I don't know if it was just like, try like beta test this for free, or if they were trying to make it a free to play game. But it's going to retail for $25 instead. There will be a deluxe edition for $30. And hopefully what that means is, if they were planning, I didn't play much of this game, if they were planning a bunch of microtransactions and stuff like that, they could sort of scale back that and let people just play what looks like a pretty promising beat 'em up RPG game. I was always interested in this one. Again, never spent much time with it. They are promising big improvements for this 1.0 release. So it sounds like it's time to jump in on this one. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I haven't played it up until now. So yeah,
Same.
I think once it launches on its 1.0 version, I will definitely give it a try.
Yep. And then last story here. Disappointed in the Switch 2's Joy-Con colors. Dbrand has you covered. So on yesterday's show, we talked about the new Joy-Con colors, which is really just accent colors in the analog stick well and along the part that connects to the Switch 2. So mostly hidden. You'll be able to see it a little bit. There's like a little gap, a little well there as well where you can see it. And people are like, $100 for these Switch 2 Joy-Cons. They don't really look all that different than the original because it's very subtle, the colors. Well, Dbrand's like, hey, we can put wraps on your stuff that completely change the colors of your Joy-Con, and why don't you go with us instead? In fact, we have these exact colors if you want, and you can make your whole Switch 2 look different. And a lot of people are seem pretty excited about this. Like, oh yeah, these companies are out there, and Dbrand has the name recognition now because they were kind of doing this with the PS5 early on, and now here sort of stepping in and being a little edgy and confrontational about it. Like, I think they said, we do, or as always, we do what Nintendo don't. And it's like, okay, we're still doing that. But hey, they're right. Nintendo isn't going to do this. Like, I don't think, Rachel, throughout this entire Switch 2 generation, we're going to get any other sort of coloring style other than the inside part of the Joy-Con and the analog stick well. I think Nintendo's just going to do that the entire time. At least that's my belief right now. What do you think?
I think once they realize that isn't really going to sell very much, because I mean, I have not looked at my Switch 2 and thought, oh, I would really love if the analog stick had a purple color well.
I did talk myself into like being excited about these yesterday, and then the price reminded me like, oh, there's no way I'm spending $100 on these things. So
yeah, exactly.
I think there's going to be some people that still get them, but like there was so much excitement for new Joy-Con colors for the Switch 1. Like every time a new set would get announced. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't think it's going to match that. So I think you might be onto something where if Nintendo sees there's a lack of, or sort of a dearth of excitement for these alternative colors, maybe they will change something up. But I don't know if that seems like they're going to be set in their way. Like they already have all the machining and tools to just do it this way. So maybe that's all they do.
I think what I hope is going to happen, is that they're going to keep the general sort of like black color scheme with accent, but they might offer Joy-Con with maybe some sort of design on it. Maybe as sort of a tie-in to a game or something like.
That's true.
Ballpark it, like maybe if there's a new Mario game, for example, you get Joy-Con that has like maybe a red M on it, for example.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's like, those colors can kind of be the focus in the analog stick well on the side. And if there was just some like etching and other stuff happening on the rest of the controller, that would be awesome. That I would think that could look really cool, but they haven't done any of that so far.
That would probably cost even more than getting new plastic. For the whole Joy-Con too. So that's tough, but I made myself sad. Yeah. It's like, that would be so cool. Oh, it's probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen. All right. That does it for the headlines. Let's get over to the poll question from yesterday. I have the results right here. Let me refresh one more time to make sure we are as up to date as possible. After 5,500 votes, the question, do you have a Switch 2? 55% said yes, 45% said no. We asked this because it's like Nintendo had it sounds like they struggled a little bit through the holiday to sell the very expensive Switch 2 to general family audiences. And it's like, ooh, that might be who they have to focus on because 55% of the people in this audience already have one. And of course, that leaves quite a few people to still sell to, but that's not how they're going to get back to 100 million consoles sold. It's going to be selling to families who likely already have a Switch 1 and will be a very difficult conversion to convince them that they need to get a Switch 2 as well, especially at the high price. I have two. I got one for my kids as well. So it's like I've already kind of done that thing that Nintendo does as well, which is sell consoles to the same people over and over again. Although I suppose I'm saying that as if I'm not going to buy another one. If they put out a Switch 2 OLED or a Lite or something, I'll probably get that as well. And that's another way that they boost these numbers. So that 55% could turn into 155% at some point.
I think you and I are kind of the outliers here because it's literally our job to have access to as many games as possible and to know about them.
Definitely extreme outliers, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I think it we're not necessarily the target audience in that case, because Nintendo knows they've got us. They know
Yes.
that we're fully in, we're committed. But I think the people who are, don't have the money, who don't have $500 lying around spare, and aren't going to get one, professionally. So I think, for professional and personal reasons, I'm not gonna sit here and BS you and pretend I didn't also get it because I wanted one.
Yep, that's right. I'm a Nintendo. I am the Nintendo mark. Thing is, I think while we are outliers, Nintendo has done that strategy forever, right? You do the DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, and all these other, like the DSi XL and all this stuff, and they sell the new system to that most hardcore audience, and then those people sell their old systems either secondhand or hand it to a friend or put it in a drawer. And that's one of the ways Nintendo's always boosted the numbers. But yeah, I still think that leaves out the audience that was showing up for the Switch 1 to get Mario Party and to get Mario Kart. And that, I think that is going to be more difficult this generation. And that's not too surprising. That is kind of something we've seen every time where they have a very successful console and they followed up with the sequel console and it doesn't do quite as well. I think that's just where this is going to end up at the end of this generation.
Yeah, we're not quite at Wii U numbers. They've thankfully surpassed Wii U numbers with the Switch 2. But yeah, I worry about like how many people are going to want to go back to the well for a Switch 2 unless they, but at the same time, I'm also thinking like, I don't know if I necessarily want them to like release a killer app that is only available on the Switch 2, because I feel bad for all the people who don't have $500 lying around spare, who won't be able to play it.
Right, and that's a good point that you're right. I'm ignoring here, where it's like Nintendo might be a little okay with this, with a slow sort of build up to winning over that audience, because they can just keep selling a lot of games to those people on the Switch 1 for some time, and the games are seemingly still selling very well. All right, that is the poll question from yesterday. No new poll question because it's Friday. It's time to do the Bomb 12 here in the week. We'll get to that here in a moment. So let's get the other stuff out of the way. First, Rachel Kaser, where can people find you on the internet? What do you have going on? And all of that good stuff.
You can find me pretty much anywhere under either my name, Rachel Kaser, or Grace of Athena, which is my online handle. And I am back on TikTok after a lengthy hiatus for my health and mental and physical. I'm back on TikTok doing the daily gaming news. So that's where you can find me at the moment. Just search for my name, Rachel Kaser, and you can probably find me. And if you don't find my main channel, you'll find my other channel, which is GamesBeat's official channel. If you don't find that channel, you'll find my other channel where I talk about Golden Girls and Dungeons and Dragons, sometimes at the same time.
Ooh.
So you can and if you're really hardcore, you can look for me on Tumblr, where I also talk about D&D and Golden Girls at the same time.
That seems like the ideal medium for those two things at the same time.
Absolutely.
You'll find Tumblr.
I find my whole audience on Tumblr.
All right, let's see here. We are going to be doing a few things today. Later on, we'll have UPF. We're going to hang out. There is this Super Mario 64 multiplayer mod. We're going to try that out, and it has like a WarioWare mini game mod. We're going to play that. That sounds like a lot of fun. But also, some other games will pop in there. I think Jan had one that looked like a Armored Core meets Vampire Survivors. It meets fantasy. I don't know. It looked awesome. Vital something. I can't remember what it's called. And then after that, after UPF, we are going to be doing This Is the Run. We're going to beat a game today. We're going to beat Absalom. So me and Dan are going to finally do that. We been testing some stuff there, ready to go. So This Is the Run, going to beat Absalom. Look out for that. All right. With all that out of the way, I think it's time for the Bomb 12, everybody. Welcome to the roundup of the 12 games that really matter to people who actually are playing video games. Let's start here with number 12. Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Number 11 is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Number 10, Ghost of Yotei. Number 9, Silent Hill F. Number 8, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Number 7 is The Outer Worlds 2. Number 6, Battlefield 6. Number 5, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Next at number 4 is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And for our top 3, number 3 is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Number 2, Arc Raiders. And number 1 is Hades 2. And Rachel, when I see this list, it looks very much like an end of year, like, hey, I've been hearing about this game all year, time to go back to it. But that's clearly like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is definitely that. Shinobi Art of Vengeance was popping up in a lot of people's lists on our site. Clearly, like Sean had it super high. I think that like convinced a lot of people to go check out that game. The Outer Worlds 2, even we were talking about that earlier. Feels like people are like, time to check in on this game that no one talked about, and it's like the handful of people that seemed to really like it. So, yeah, and then Hades 2 is like, really the big one there, where it's like everyone's still playing that one, still hearing great things, and checking in on it. What are you playing this week? I don't know. I can't remember if I asked already.
I have been I'm trying to remember if there's any games there's a lot of games from 2025 I haven't actually checked out. So I
Same.
think this is probably going to be my catch up month until the new releases start up. I did play my very first new game of 2026 because there's an indie game series that they always release a new game every year like clockwork on January 1st. It is the Carol
really?
Reed games from MDNA Games. It is as underground as it goes. You can't get them on any storefront. You can only get them directly from the developer. But
that's great.
Yeah, the developer releases a new Carol Reed game every year on January 1st. This year it was called The Final Chapter. And so I've already played my first new game for 2026. So I feel like I'm off to a good start.
All right, I will. Yes, I'll get the website updated with the Bomb 12 and the link there where it says vote here to submit your game and all that stuff. That'll be updated today as well. So if you want to start adding your game for next week's The Bomb 12, you can begin doing that later today here on Friday and all through Thursday evening, and then we'll come back to you with the new Bomb 12 next Friday's Game Mess mornings. Looking forward to it. All right, that's the first week of Giant Bomb back in 2026, all wrapped up in terms of Game Mess mornings. Rachel Kaser, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me talk about Fire Emblem for 20 odd minutes.
Anytime. We'll make that happen whenever you want. I think I did say Bomb 12. In the meantime, thank you everybody for watching. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye.
Bye.